Hello everybody and welcome back to this beltless bot maze. It's really nice to be back. I've not actually picked up Factorio physically for about 2 weeks now. A mixture of real life and other things have got in the way, which I'll talk about a bit during this recording. But anyway, right now we are in our maze world, and as you can see, I have been expanding quite substantially. There's a gap here. I don't know why. Let's fix that. Might be a fault in the blueprint. Right, so I had a problem where bots were flying over here, really. They were triggering lots of attacks. And I don't know if you can see, but this area here, it was right smack in the middle of my heavy-duty pollution cloud. So the monsters were chasing all the way up through the maze and around to attack me here, which was really bad. And also there was some overflow with bots. So I started clearing them, and each time I cleared them, because of the topology of the maze, I ended up with another group of biters that were in the overfly. And it just got a bit out of hand. So I ended up clearing a lot of the maze down to the water. Just, sat here for a couple of hours, turret crawling, and then putting down our blockades whenever we reached something that looked like a good choke point. So for example, there was one here, but then I got carried away and I cleared back to here, to there, I think. So I will come back later and start dismantling some of these internal blocks that aren't really needed anymore. But you can see this is the space of the maze we've uncovered. So the idea of this playthrough, to recap, is there are no belts. So everything has to be done with bots and with insertion. Oh, I think we've got a bit of a problem here. Yeah, things are overflying there. But you see, to solve that problem, I'd have to push this out to there, for example. Then I'd have to clear down here. Well, if I clear down here, I'll end up taking out the whole of this dead end, which is nice. And then I'd probably block off maybe there. But then it would just... Then I'd have to really clear up there to stop that overflight. And yeah, it never ends. So I'm just going to have to agree that some of my bots are going to get nuked by this patch here. Lose some materials. Ignore the beeps. So, to recap, we have our make everything here. And this is the main factory currently that's producing all the stuffs and also the research. If I turn off the overlay, you can see a lot of things are not active. So this smelting block, only some of the smelters are active. And this is purely a throughput issue. We've got all these drones bringing materials in, but they just cannot physically deliver the materials fast enough because of carry time. So this is our drop-off hub. And because we're limited to 1 unit of a maze wide, we just can't drop off the materials, basically. Dump them and get out. And then deliver them by bot. So we're really pushing the limits of what can be done in this kind of design. However, this isn't the only type of design we have. So this was the area that was making solar panels. This was a mixed patch of ore. So this area just made solar panels. It was like a pipeline from mining to smelting to intermediates to final products. And this worked really well. As this wore down and as we ended up with a good bank of solar panels, I added in 4 trains to take away the excess of the 4 materials. So that's now being delivered back to the main hub, and that all appears to be working quite well. The next thing we did was secure some big patches. So here's a big coal with a 2-2 train, but here is coal with 1-4 trains. Now, this is using Train Supply Manager. This is a requester stop. It's requesting empty coal trains. It'll request them whenever these are big enough to fill up a train. So empty coal trains come here, they fill up. The empty ones park here. Yeah. They fill up. When they're full, they park here, like this one is. And then there's a request to station for a place that needs coal, which will call in a train. So at the moment there are none of these, but there will be in a minute. Where is all this happening? It's all happening on this overflying. Oh well, I'm just going to have to live with it for now. I'll just have to ignore the bleeps. So we've got this sort of set up for all the main resources and also for sciences, because if we have a look here, this is our red science build. Okay, so trains come in, they drop off iron ore or copper ore. That is then smelted. The iron is direct inserted into gears. The copper and the gears go into the red potions, and then that goes out. And it turns out that this runs one red machine at full speed, even though the gear machine is running only part of the time. So this is quite a nice build, really. So there's two of those. Then we have green science builds. Two of these. They do a very similar thing. So here we have copper and iron being brought in to make green circuits. Then the green circuits are passed through via a buffer chest. A buffer, well, it's the wrong word to use, but you know what I mean. Via a buffer ring chest. Then we smelt our iron to make our gears, to make our arms and plates. And then that gets fed through to the green science. Now you may have noticed that I'm using interestingly shaped arms. This is the Bob's, so you can see that's pulling in a very funny way. This is Bob's adjustable inserters. So this makes this kind of build possible. Without that, we wouldn't be able to do it. So you can see we've got 1, 2, 3 inserters filling up this one box, which allows the train to be unloaded quickly. All right. So the next one of these sciences I would like to make is military. I'm just going to park my train here so that it's out the way, so this train can get on with life. So what we're going to do is start designing a military build, and it's going to be a similar sort of setup where we do a direct feed through. And let's start with military itself. So I'd like to, if possible, maximize the direct insertions. Now, military requires 3 inputs. It needs, where are we? Red ammo, grenades, and walls. Good. So this all sounds so far so good, doesn't it? The thing is, how do I get 3 items into one machine? And I think this may be the first build that I actually need to break up. Okay, so grenades is coal and iron plate. So grenades need an iron smelter. And they need to be close enough to a train that they can get the coal directly in. This requires copper plate, steel plate. So that needs to be near a copper and a steel smelter. But it also needs firearms. And they need iron plate. So let's put that down. All right. And then the stone wall needs stone brick. So let's put down one of these. And do I have any stone in my inventory? Yes, because then we can set the recipe. Okay, so we need 12 stone brick smelters to make one wall machine work. Now, if we were trying to make walls, that would be a really big problem. However, we're not. We're trying to make just enough walls to keep one science machine going. So, can... Oh yeah, I have no personal bots, which complicates things. So how are we doing here? So this is only using 1/10 of the wall machine. Right, so it seems a waste. I still don't think that's fast enough. I think we're going to need more than one brick smelter to keep the wall machine running fast enough. Right, so there are options here. So we could do something like this, where we have 2 brick smelters feeding into one wall, feeding into one military. Or I could make a dedicated brick smelting area and treat bricks as... I think that might be the solution, because we need bricks for steel furnaces as well. And it looks like it's just going to be too much hassle to try and load balance between this very different ratio. Okay, so that's the first build we're going to do. Let's do the stone smelting build. And we may as well... There's no good place to do it, because we have this very decentralized model. We're harvesting stone here. It seems a bit daft to be taking it over there to bring it back. But for the sake of narrative necessity, let's do the brick smelting in this area. All right, so what would a smelter look like? Well, I think we can do 2 from one carriage. So let's sketch it out, and then we'll do it more carefully in a minute. So if we had something like this. So the pickup position is from there, pick up from there. And actually these don't need to be stack inserters, so we'll replace these with blues. They probably don't even need to be blues, to be honest, but I'm not going to be using the brown inserters for anything in terms of our actual builds. Okay, so these 2 would be brick smelters. So then we'd have essentially the reverse here. I'm tempted to turn off the beeps. Okay, this is a temporary thing, because once this is built out, this is done. Okay, so then we'd have... Well, we'd just feed through train to train, track to track. Okay, so that would give us 8 smelters, which is not too bad, actually. Because you really don't need very much brick. All right. Is there a better way to do this? So, how big can we make these crazy inserters? They can be that big. I'm just wondering if it's possible. So if I had inserters back to back, sorry, smelters back to back. Yeah, I think we can do this double deep. All right, so let's try it. So we have this here to feed the first smelters. Okay, then this is going to pick up from the box. And then drop. Okay, that's not dropping far enough. I need to gain 2 tiles. Okay, so can we do this? So if this picks up from 2 back, can it drop try again. Pick up from 2 back, drop over to the side. So that's pick up from 3 back, drop to the side. Yes, that works. So then if I put this there, pick up from 2 back and drop 3 up. So that works. Okay. Let's paint in some rail because okay, and these are going to be stacks. And I'm tending to use 3. Good. So this is our train unload. So then where can a rail go this side? So it could go there. All right. I need a okay, we can do this. So this is going to drop behind itself. This will drop behind itself. Whoops, that's, sorry. Pick up, drop off. Pick drop, pick drop. Okay, and then I need 2 inserters here. So this is going to pick up from in there, and this is going to pick up from in there. So I don't make it look, whoop, that's the wrong one. Pick up, drop. Okay, so let's try again. That is going to pick up from there and put there. Is that correct? Yep. And then this one does the corresponding. So we've got 4 stone smelters passing through into a single carriage. So that should be all right. So that should give us 16. Oh, this is becoming a bit of a problem, isn't it? The thing is, I don't have any way of getting over there. And just, I don't know, you know, putting down a bit of covering fire. I just can't get there. So, settings, sounds, alerts, off. There you are. This is how certain nations are dealing with their coronavirus outbreaks. Just turn off the alerts. It'll go away. Alright, so I think that's our smelter. And I think we only need 1 of these. Right, let's get I need a drop off and a pickup. And I just need a simple one that's dropping off a single item, picking up a single item. Do I have anything like that? Right, where else? I don't think I do. I think they're all more complicated. Okay, one side of the green circuit, one is simpler. Alright, so this is a straightforward drop off 1 item, which in this case is stone. Okay, so let's just take this as a template. Great. Then we can head down here and fit it in. Now, my rule is that these have to fit entirely within a segment. And looking at it, I'm just counting out. Yeah, that's going to fit in. If we move it down 1, there. Okay, so this signal now needs to be replaced with a chain signal, and then we need a commitment afterwards. I think that's fine there. So this is our first bit. So if then I copy this design, okay, I'm going to copy it without the rail. Okay, so that would go 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you don't like the debug stuff, sorry, but it's what lets me design these things. Okay, so that goes there. That was a bit premature adding that in. I think we'll just allow this signal to deal with it. Ah, hang on, have I put this entire thing in backwards? No, I haven't. This is an outward going. Good. And the base bots are starting to build all this out. Yeah, so there's a single choice here to decide whether you're going to go into the build or not. We need a choice there to decide if you're going to go into the second part of the build, a commitment there. Okay, and then we need to request in empty trains, and I'm going to copy the circuitry for that because it's a bit of a pain to set up. Good, so we will copy this circuitry. Oh, it needs to go include a red wire back to a chest. That's fine. All right, so let's go here, and then I can set up the red circuit as and when. Okay, put that down. We'll need this chest, and then I'll need a red wire from there to there. This wire is measuring how much material is in this chest. So this, a train can take 4 rows. So if there's at least 4 rows of material, we can fill up a train. Each one of these stacks, it stacks a brick, and brick stacks to 50. No, up to 100. I think brick stacks to 100. If I'm wrong, crafting. It's possible this, yeah, this adjusts the stack size to 500. Okay, I think I want the stack size to remain. That's a lot of brick. On the upside, it means the trains will run very rarely. Okay, so let's work this out. 500, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. 5, 10, 15, 20,000. Okay. So when brick is greater than equal to 20,000, call in a train. Output 1T. I'll let all this get placed, and then I'll set up the schedules and everything. Okay, so this should be requesting stone. Okay, and I'll leave that at 400. I think that's all set up correctly. And this needs to request a stone train. So that's stone, and I think it's an empty wagon I'm using. Are there better signals? Yeah, there are now. Oh well, that's a bit of a major job to shift all those over. So I've been using stone and wagon. All right. So this thing is all built. I'm just waiting for the final rail to go down. And then I will power it up. We can delete this. Turn off the grid because it is annoying. All right, so I think we can call in the stone train now. We can set up the brick train in a minute. Let's work out what we're doing for power. That doesn't quite get everything, does it? Which is sad, because it would have been a beautiful place to put a power pole. Does that get everything? Yeah, it's the best we can do. All right. Right, and then this needs a name. It needs the name... Okay, so I've named this Stone Brick Site 1 Stone. Good. This is calling in, this wants to call in a train. Okay, for stone cargo wagon. So have I not set up a... Set up sourcing priorities. So I've got a stone mining. I don't have a stone wagon. Okay, let's set this up then. So stone full. Okay, that was an oversight. And now a train is coming in. And I'll be very pleased if we see this working. It's a bit of a crazy build, but I like it. So if you remember, we needed 12 of these to get a wool machine running at full speed. We have 16. Let's just look at this marvel and marvel. That is very cool. So I think that's generally a design we can copy for smelting if and when we need dedicated smelting sites. We could obviously use 6 stack inserters to empty the train, but I think that's overkill. Okay, so that's our first build. Grenades are straightforward. Right, so we can take that away, that and that. Grenades are straightforward. It just needs coal and iron plate, which requires a smelter. This is more tricky. So I wonder if we'll have a dedicated site for these and then direct insert. Yeah, so one grenade machine can be run at slightly under speed. All right, let's have a look at the smelting requirements for that. Can I request a bit of iron ore? Because I need to... I wouldn't normally, but I need a bit of iron ore to put in the smelters to make them work. Good, and I'm going to need to request a bit of copper ore as well in a minute. Can we set these so that... I don't think I've unlocked enough skills yet to be able to set trash. Alright, is there any research we can do? We can unlock gold science, robot cargo size, robot speed, those are all great. Construction robotics, that's probably what's going to let me... Logistics robotics. Personal battery Mark II, we probably can't use those. Laser turret shooting speed 4. Yeah, let's let all that go. Okay, so what I want to check is any of this incoming? Yeah, it is incoming. I want to check to see if I can run a smelter fast enough to keep that going. All right, our next build is going to be this one. So obviously, I'm going to be inserting from that to that. Now this is running 3 times as fast as it needs to for one of these. But that's not a problem. Now, I could potentially have this feeding 2 of those, but then I would need to pass in all the smelting products. So I think a 1-to-1 ratio, underclock this, is fine. This needs steel and copper. Okay. Let's just work this through. So if that was a steel and that was an iron smelter, we could do that. But I don't know how much of a steel smelter this requires. So this requires 2 steel smelters to work. Yep. All right. So maybe this is one of these builds that has to be both sides of a central track. And each steel obviously requires an iron smelter to go with it. All right, let's just draw this out so that it's as obvious as possible. So this all feeds into one of these. Right, then we also have the need for copper. And I don't know how many copper machines we need, but I won't know that till we have some copper ore. Then this requires iron plate. And again, that's going to need an iron smelter, and I won't know how many of those we need. Right, here's some iron ore. That's good. Right, we are 3 under. Now remember, we only need to run this at 1/3 speed. But this is, so we need 2 of these to exceed. So this is our smelting for our yellow ammo. Then this needs some copper. And we need 2 copper smelters. There we are. So that's all ratioed out. So this is under ratioed, but it's under ratioed by just slightly over 1/3, which is about right for feeding this. So then the game is the jigsaw puzzle. How do we fit this into a form where we can feed things through from trains? Maybe it's not possible. Maybe it's not possible. But maybe it is. And the other option, obviously, is to run this at half speed. So then it would be 1 copper. So that would actually work. So if we had... If this was the ammo machine, then we could have a copper smelter, an iron smelter, and a... Let's offset them by 1. So this would be steel, iron, copper. So that would run this machine at half speed. Then on the other side of the track, we could run the copper and 1 iron, which would be sufficient to run that at a high enough speed. That would work. I think that's what we're going to do. Okay, so it's not perfect, but it will do the job. So that would be there. There. All right, so that's our build. We need to work out how to fit rail tracks in the gaps. And it's running, obviously it's running the red machine at half capacity, but we've got 4 of them. So that's equivalent to having 2. Seems like a real shame. All right, so how else could we do this? So if this was our iron steel, then we have a copper smelter here. Okay. Yeah, so that would be running this at full speed. Oh, it doesn't have enough copper, so I need an extra copper smelter. Let's just do it like that for cartoon's sake. Then I need the yellow, and that needs 2 iron smelters. So that is possible, and that would run at full speed. I think that's what we'll go with. We'll see if we can figure out how to do this. So this is just an iron input, which we can steal from here. Okay, so that's just an iron input. Feeds through iron to steel to there. All right, so that's our number 1 build. What's going on here? That's my personal train. Let's dump it here. All right. So item equals item equals stone brick 1. There we go. So we may have a stone brick 2. Let's leave some room for it. All right, so if we have one of these coming in as before, then is there room for our build? I've got a feeling there isn't. Okay, so let's make a copy of this just so we can use it as a ruler. No, and that's without putting in the space for the additional rails we're going to need. So if there's a rail here, then we need a rail in this gap. We could do it like this, but then this space down the middle is going to be really cramped for both offloading the train and, yeah, don't think that's a good idea. All right, so have we done all our research? Wow. Well, I'm just going to do some of these. Uranium scanning. We're probably going to need nuclear power at some point. Personal laser defense is probably good. Combat robotics, meh. Energy shields, yes. All right. So this needs to be moved back, but we're already hitting this side. Okay, so if this was... Okay, if this was there, which is as close as I can make it. Then I can take the first portion of this and put it down there. There we are, that's 4 of those. All right, so the next one that could go in would be there. I think that's the closest we can make it. We could squeeze out one tile from this build. Right, this is what needs to go above it. Problem I have is this is the best I can do to work around that. All right, let's take some of this out. Right, and then back to this single tile gap here, which isn't viable, is it? So what is the alternative here? I need to pinch a square from the bottom build and a square from the top build. And then everything would fit in. So I need to pinch that. All right. So how do I do that? I think I need to do some more magic with crazy inserters. Okay, and I think I'm going to do it with these ones. All right. So these don't actually go anywhere. Right, and then I think we will pass into these using that. So this will pick up from there, drop off there. I'm just going to do the diagonal because I like the look of it, not because it's a sensible choice. All right. Then, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I think I can pick up all of that, move it to there. That has gained us a tile. So then we would do something a bit similar here. So that's going to drop to the side, and it's going to pick up to the left. Right, and that's going to drop to the side, pick up to the right. Good. So that feeds the iron through. Okay, then we have a couple of issues. So this is copper smelter number 1. We need a copper smelter number 2. That's as far away as I can reach. Right, so that's our largest extent. It won't span the rail, so we're going to have to use a buffer box. And the issue here is we also need a box for the copper smelters themselves. Okay, let's try that. So we're going to need to use one of these to feed this, and one of these to feed these 2 smelters. Okay, so let's say these are the feed ones. Whoops. Yeah, so these are both picking up from here. We still have the question of how we actually unload from the train. All right, so now then this would need to output to that box. That box would need to be capped to 1 stack. And then this needs to pick up. Is that the wrong one? That's a drop. Yeah, so that's going to drop off to there. That's just going to feed directly across. So that would work. We would still need inserters to unload the copper train. Okay, that can pick up there. Can it drop? Three down. Is it there? Yeah, it can. Okay, so that's our unload. This is officially weird. So I seem to have traded belt spaghetti for arm spaghetti. All right, and then the other, this is a straightforward box unloading. In retrospect, we could have squashed all this quite significantly. So this could have been 3, 2, or 1 tiles, which may have made the difference. It wouldn't have made the difference with this particular build, but with the next build it may. Okay, and then this is iron. Okay. So I need to load the furnaces, so pick up from there. That's better. Pick up from there. Pick from there. Yep. And then we need to unload the train. And that's good enough for me. Just set the drop offsets. I think what keeps confusing me with this UI is it's using arrows for the drop tile, which is the same as the icon used in the main display, but it's also using arrow for the pickup. Now I know it's an upward pointing arrow, but we're rotating things, so that kind of doesn't work for me. I think this would need to be a bar to match the decoration which is on the end of the arrows in the UI. Yeah. Anyway, this little thing, that looks good. So that is red ammo. I think that's pretty awesome. So we need to do some magics. All right, firstly, this is calling in iron ore, which is the correct thing. So it's calling in iron ore, it's got the right thing. This needs a name, which is right. I don't know what the name of the piercing ammo is, so let's ask Google. I'm doing this on a different monitor, sorry. Piercing rounds. Armor piercing. Nope, I may have to actually this isn't working very well. Is it piercing rounds magazine? It is. Okay. So that's a ridiculous name. So that's our iron ore for the steel. So we're going to have 2 iron inputs, one for the steel and one for the yellow rounds. So let's get this powered. Okay, so that's this half of the build powered. Can't do anything about that, so we'll put another power pole in there. Okay, so that's all powered up. I would like to see the steel smelting work. So we're going to... Priority schema is iron ore, cargo. And there's a train on the way, which is great. All right, so that should get this all running. Next thing, we need a very similar setup here. Okay, we're going to change the name of this request to stop from that to #2. I have one of those, which is great. Red wire, which is one of those things I can never quite see. Let's put it down there so it's easier to find. Okay. And again, this is select iron ore, train carriage. So a train should be coming in there. So this is now smelting steel. It's amazing watching all this stuff work. I'm truly surprised that it sort of functions. All right, so I can start pulling all this up. I'm glad we went for the complicated build which keeps the red running full time. I'd rather do one complicated build than 2 or 3 simpler ones where we have to keep slapping them down. And it offends me when machines aren't running to their full capacity when they could be. Alright, so this is all working. So this now has the steel plate it requires. We're now offloading iron ore here. It just looks so weird, doesn't it, with these arms? So in a minute, they should do a smelting cycle. Okay, there's a problem here. So this is full of rounds. It has no output. So it needs to get... Okay, we're going to have to move this by a box also. And this may actually break one of my design rules. I may have to overlap builds. Okay, so if I thought about this more carefully, I wouldn't need to overlap the builds, but I didn't think about it more carefully. Because I could have shifted all this gubbins one to the right. Is it worth doing? It means moving a power pole for something which is basically just a question of beauty rather than of functionality. So no. This is going to be capped to 1 stack. This will drop there instead. Good. Then this is going to pick from that box and put in this machine. So this now has everything it needs except copper. And I can take this. We're really using all the space. Then I can blueprint this. Okay, and that gets them all going. So the last thing is copper. No, the second to last thing is copper. Oh, good grief. Where are we going to load the rounds onto the train in the middle? All right, let's think about this. Maybe I do need to shuffle everything. So we need an output to a box. And then a stack inserter. Ooh, these need to be filter stacks. Okay, so let's... The issue is I'm going to have one train stop in the middle, which is both going to unload for copper and load for piercing ammo. And I need to make sure that it doesn't do the wrong thing. So let's do it with a stack inserter for now. Okay, so that is going to drop up into there. Okay. Let's take this. This whole contraption is looking increasingly Studio Ghibli. I really love the way that it's so ridiculous. Alright, so let's get in our train stop. Okay, so this is going to have two activities, which means we need two decider combinators, which I am not seeing. Okay. We'll need a power here to keep them from flashing. Okay, this can be T, and it can be set to copper. And then this can be set to piercing rounds. And it's going to output a U. 1 U. When piercing rounds are greater than, now they stack to 200, we have 10 rows, so that's 2,000. Sorry, 10 columns, that's 2,000, and we have 4 rows, so that's 2, 4, 8, 8,000. Good. So that'll be active when there are 8,000 incoming. Now let's get a wire. Good. So this, it outputs a T when copper is less than 4. This outputs a U when rounds is bigger than 8,000. Okay. So this will be enabled when T is greater than the train count. Good. So this will only be enabled if we're out of copper and there is no train on the way. That's pretty cool. All right. And then we can actually set the schedule for this now. So this schedule is copper cargo. Okay, now there's a danger here. Okay, so before we do this, I need to wire up all of these green... Okay, so all of these are now wired up. And they're going to just sit there for now because I haven't set a condition for them. All right, so in what circumstance do I want those to be active? Right, so remember, so this is set up to output the... Do you remember when we did the schedules? It had a priority scheme. It has this and this icon. This icon is routed to here. So these are active whenever they get copper. Okay. These didn't need anything set, but alright, so I have managed to balls up the drop position. And these are not moving very fast, presumably because they have to go so far. All right. So we have an issue here immediately with ammo. I'm going to fix that in a moment. All right. So these arms here also need to be set up. Okay. So these need to only be active when the piercing ammo signal is greater than 0. Good. So that doesn't have any, that doesn't, that doesn't, that doesn't. Okay, but we some accidentally got here. And here. And here. And here. But it's not a problem. Alright, so clearly this is a very inefficient way to unload a train. The thing is, I don't care, right? We have succeeded in making red rounds. I think that's actually a beautiful, beautiful build. I feel the beauty, even if... Yeah, I'm calling that beautiful. Alright, so we've done stones. We've done red ammo. The next build is the actual science build. Where could that go? And I think we'll carry on this process of just layering things up. So the next place would be here. Right. So deconstruct that. Did I say I was going to do a dedicated... I'm wondering go to there for now. I'm wondering if I should do a separate grenade build, but I don't think I need to. So I know this will have to turn around in a minute. Excuse me. All right. So what I'm thinking is we have a wool machine. We have and the wool machine gets fed direct from train. Then we have a grenade machine. That needs a smelter. In fact, it needs 2 smelters. All right. So I think that's our build. Except we need to bring in a train on the middle lane to supply in the piercing rounds. Is there I'd really like to avoid having one of those complicated middle rail things again, because they're a bit of a pain to set up. What's the alternative? Because I can put that to the side, right? This needs coal, so I'm going to have to bring in a train in the middle to supply coal. But that means there's... So if coal came in the middle and we took science out in the middle, then bricks could be supplied above and iron below. Right, I've managed to deadlock my rail network. Let's put that back there for now. Okay, I think that's what we'll do. So let's lay down a bit of track for measurement. Okay, so this, we should have something a bit like this in our buffer. No, it doesn't go back that far, but that is the closest we have. All right, so that's iron unload. This could actually be central. That's a big breakage addition. Okay. Then that's a lot of warnings. Oh well. Right, so then the next rail would need to go here, for example. Right, why make it difficult for ourselves? Because we have to feed products over. All right. So wool. No. the actual potions. All right. So we would need... This is the iron for the grenades. We need a coal for the grenades. And the problem here is we really need 3 to keep everything moving. All right. I'm going to put it this side. Good. And let's just do more research. They will all come in useful. If for no other reason than... Alright, do we now have the ability to do auto trash? Yes, we do. That is really good. Alright. So, wall is straightforward. It's just going to go straight across. We have three unloads because that's how we're doing things. For the coal. And then the coal needs to be fed. Okay. So that's the coal machine satisfied. It's got coal in it, it's got plate. Then this has to get into there. Does that pick up? Yep, it does. And then we can drop one to the side. So that gets the grenades in. So then the issue becomes getting the science out and then onto a train. Okay, maybe the solution is to bear in mind our extra track. So I can move all this back. I could move all of this back 1 tile or 2 tiles if I wanted to. The issue is I need to offload bricks. I need to offload, and let's just take a little blueprint of this. I need to offload bricks. I need to offload piercing rounds. Let's move that back 1. Right, so they will need a box, and then they will need to feed in. All right. Then this still needs to load a train. Okay, if that picked up from as far back as it can go, it still isn't picking up. So just to illustrate, that's as far back. So that's where I would have to be able to pick up to put into a box. I can extend this by 2 tiles. So if I pick up the whole of this and move it back to there, this build then is... It does fit in a gap. That's all right. Okay. I'm going to undelete that one. This is another completely crazy build, isn't it? All right, while we're waiting for that to happen, let's put in some infrastructure. So, I've lofted it from the buffer. All right, so that's our... That's our iron input. So that could go there. Good. So then... Does this line up? Yeah, it does. So... that there. I'm really looking forward to having personal robots. I could have personal robots. Okay, so I just need to craft equipment for it. That's the thing. We'll get onto that after this. So, reasons why I haven't been keeping up with my broadcasting schedule. Firstly, it's not my day job. So when there are other things competing with my time, the other things win, unfortunately. Although I'd like this to be my day job, it isn't. All right, we need... Oh, that signal will do that. That signal will do there. Secondly... obviously, I've been working from home because that's the way the world is now. I'm a research scientist by occupation. I was going to say trade, but I guess it's not really a trade. And everything's been in really flux because a lot of the projects we were doing are on hold. Nah, that doesn't work at all, does it? But that can go. That feeds through. Yeah, that's what we need. That feeds across. So we just need to work out what's going on here. So what was I... Okay, so that needs to output to a box. Okay, and then we need... yeah, to fill up that. All right. Yeah, everything's been a bit up in the air, but what I have been doing is taking the time to learn some things which I otherwise would not have had the time to learn. So I've been learning neural nets, which is really good fun. 1, 2, 3, 4. But they're a bit like naughty children. They you tell them to do something and they find the most creative way possible to satisfy what you requested without actually doing what you wanted. So that's been a learning experience. And that's, to be honest, eaten up a lot of my evenings because with working at home, I've been pretty awful at keeping hours. I also have a young family, so there's been a lot of homeschooling and just general interruptions. Last week, I took part in a virtual stone carving festival, which was really good fun. I really enjoyed it, but which obviously ate up pretty much an entire week worth of doing other things. So I guess what I'm trying to say is it's not that I don't like doing these videos, it's just they take a long time, and particularly with my home broadband, the uploading becomes a bottleneck, with everybody else being permanently on YouTube during the day for schooling and just for like staying sane. So yeah, this has really just taken a back seat, unfortunately. I need to craft some more wire. Can I do that? Yeah, good. I should have crafted them in 5s. All right, so I'll carry on talking while that crafts. So in practice, Factorio recording has taken a real backseat. Anyway, I'm hoping to sort of do a bit more. Another thing is the other series I've been doing is a Factorio playthrough. And to be honest, that market's become pretty saturated as all the big YouTubers have started a playthrough of Factorio. And looking at my content, I'd kind of got dead-ended with the massive bus design. And I didn't feel I was making enough headway to really keep up with other broadcasters. And the designing I was doing wasn't particularly groundbreaking. So I kind of got disillusioned with that as a broadcast series. It's something I'll pick up again, but probably after this whole bandwagon has blown over. So anyway, that's where I'm at. So I'll probably pick up the Factorio again later in some form, but for now, this playthrough is good fun. It's slow paced, so I'm going to take this forward, I think. All right, have I managed to craft some wire? Yes, I have. Right, so we need to connect up all of these because we need to make sure they are only active at the right time. That needs to go to there. I wonder if I could have done some of the earlier ones like this rather than with filters. There we are. Right, so that's wires hooked up to all the inserters, which is great. We now need to power everything. All right. Central looks best, but it's, I think, that. Good. And then I think once we've got this going, I'm going to end it here without actually turning this off because we need to do some logistics train network setup. And that will wait for another time. All right, so this is bringing in iron, and we do actually want iron. So let's check this. Yeah. So this is going to be item equals military science pack, build 1, copper ore. Right, this is going to be called military science pack, build 1. Although this does bring in coal. And this is military science pack, build 1. Item equals, and this brings in stone brick and also Right, what was it? Piercing Rounds magazine. Good. And I would like to rename this actually. Good. I'm trying to be consistent with names. Lord knows I'm not very consistent with anything else. Right, and we need decider combinators. Am I requesting any? I think I should be. Right, where are decider combinators on here? They're under here somewhere. There we go. Right, they're on their way. Right, so this is simple. Enable condition when rounds is greater than 0. Right, I can't copy paste that because it overrides the drop off. Good. So that. Good. Then these need to be enabled when stone bricks is greater than 0. So copy that. Awesome. So this should be ready to go. Right. Good. Next thing. Wire. This is wired to that chest and it's set up correctly. So I am just going to set this going. So this will be iron ore, train. And a train will come in. Right, this will be coal. So let's wire this box to here. That to that. And I'm going to copy this logic, although this is going to be coal. Right, and it didn't start up because it's not powered, which is really good. And this needs to be coal. Okay, I could use anythings to set all this up in a more generic fashion, but to be honest, I don't want to. Right, so what's going on here? Oh, these aren't set to enable when... All right, I nearly copied. Good. Now I can copy. Then in a minute when that train comes back, it should unload. All right. Then the next one here will be from this box, which is the grey science. Okay, this is going to be when grey science is greater or equal to 8,000 because they stack in 2,000. Output 1, and it has to be a different signal. Otherwise, trains get called in for the wrong things. Great, and then the priority scheme here is Grey Science, assembly machine, and I can't remember which assembly. I think it's the 3 I've been using. Let's have a look. Yeah, I'm using the assembly machine 3. Okay, so that means a builder of. Right, so then if we power this up, we're bringing in a coal train. Awesome. Then these ones, we need to wire the correct boxes. So this is piercing rounds. So this is going to output 1 T. When piercing rounds is less than 200 to a stack, we have 8 stacks. 1600. Good. Now this I think is set up. Yeah, M is less than T. And this should be right. Is this the right way around? Trains on the way is less than T. Yeah, so this should be trains on the way is less than U. That's it. I just want to double check that I did this correctly down here. No, I didn't. So this should have been trains on the way is less than U. All right, good job. I caught that. And all right, so this is going to be stone brick. Now, this stacks to 500 in this mod pack. We have 8 of them. 8 500s is 4000s. Yeah. And it needs to be wired to this box. So this is all done. Right, so it's just the schedules we need to set up now. So the schedule for this is ammo, cargo wagon. And then the schedule for this is stone brick, cargo wagon. And this now is all correct, I believe. So this is trying to call in a train. It needs a coal train. Okay, let's have a look. So we have no empty coal trains. We have a full coal train. Okay, so this sometimes happens with TSM with updates and things. You have to do a TSM reset, and that rebuilds all the internal stuff. Okay, maybe there's a bigger issue here. Sourcing priorities. So we have a coal emptying, but we don't have a now there's an incoming train because I've set up a sourcing priority. So I think that's us done for today. So the next thing is to set up the supply stations for these things, but that's another job for another day. For now, I'm going to call this a good one. We have all the intermediates made for grey potions, and we are ready to start making the grey potions. And that's good enough for me. I'm going to be able to sleep well tonight. So thanks very much for watching. Please like, subscribe, tell your friends. I'm sorry for the spotty output, but as I explained, my life is complicated at the moment, and unfortunately Factorio is the last thing on a very long list of things. So I'll try and be a bit more reliable about getting one of these out once a weekend. Till then, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.